I'll give you 4 real quick examples. I won't spend a lot of time on these, but just to illustrate, this is not about any kind of particular industry or part of the country that's doing this. And so you're going to see 4 very different examples here, starting with very complex technical application in a medical device area, where working with our center in South Carolina, they were able to do the prototyping and do all the testing to actually, from what the company reported, record time in being able to get a device approved by FDA. So something, you know, very much on the higher technology end of things. Small startup company, small being the husband and his wife, who said, hey, we've done visits to hospitals. We see what a difficulty it is for people that are sitting there lying prone to take a drink without pouring it all over themselves. Came up with an idea for this particular cup. Our center in Louisiana was able to work with them, develop some prototypes, and for them, a 300% jump in sales was pretty significant. Cattle feeders in Oklahoma. Apparently the issue there is with wild animals coming up to also feed and communicating diseases. Through that, our center in Oklahoma is able to work with 3C cattle feeders to come up with an approach to minimize or eliminate that issue. And with them, what it actually ended up doing is they had to expand their facility to be able to actually meet the demand for their product. And the last example, a company out of Washington that had been producing hydraulic jacks for the aircraft industry, bid on and won a contract for equipping Humvees that break down in Iran or Afghanistan, and being able, with a single person, to be able to jack them up in 3 minutes, change the tire, and get the heck out of there, which you know is something that if you were on that Humvee or part of that would be something you'd be interested in, and it shows the kind of sales increase that they've been able to do. So depending on, it doesn't matter what kind of company you are, there are innovative things that you can do to really improve your product, make new products, and the approach that we've got actually can help you through that process much quicker and much cheaper. A couple then on our services. So for us in the technology side, again, what we really are is a connector. And I say we, the MEP Center and our staff, of connecting manufacturers with technology solutions, but also we connect on the technology side with looking for opportunities and feed those to manufacturers as possible opportunities for them to integrate into their manufacturing processes or into their products. One of the tools that we've developed to help with that, if you're familiar with the typical tech transfer process where you're dealing with the technology developer, be it a federal lab, university, or an independent inventor, is kind of a one-on-one operation. For us, what I want to be able to do is to identify those technologies that have got broader application across multiple industries, across multiple parts of the country, and be able to connect that into our centers and into the manufacturers for application. One of the ways to do that was to develop an online tool that we have technologies posted on there. And I'll say that and then take that back, because what we've really got on there is possible applications of technology rewritten in a business language that a manufacturer can understand what it means for them, and then also to take and do a simple market forecast for what the potential use of that from a product perspective and who the customer might be. So one, it gives you a manufacturer a much better feel for how the technology might really be applied, how they can use it, and allows me, through the whole network of centers and our 1,300 field staff, to be able to access and put in there. The other dimension to that we found is if you've got a technology and you're trying to sell it, you can put it up there too, and we can connect you that way. The other thing that we've started to do recently is working with both OEMs and the federal government. If they've got a specific requirement for some manufactured component, we can put that buying request on here, instantly connected across our network of centers to be able to identify manufacturers that can have a product, American-made product, to satisfy that need. The other aspect of growing your company is everybody's talked about export. But believe me, like everything else, exporting is not as simple as saying, okay, now I'm going to go export. And so we've partnered with this collection of organizations, the USAX, SBA, et cetera, to develop a service that really helps a company go through, make them understand what all is involved in exporting to get kind of a go, no-go decision. And if they want to go ahead and proceed, then help them map out really all of the resources, all of the steps that are involved, and come up with an export plan, a project plan that they can implement. And in the meantime, both our centers and the U.S. Export Assistance Centers really helping them through that process, so at the tail end of this, they've actually got an export plan. An example of why you might want to really consider that, if you look at this company in Oklahoma, who is basically a metal bender type of company, pretty basic, but what they've been able to do in terms of expanding their organization by looking at exports. I mentioned sustainability. This grew certainly out of the need to be compliant with a lot of the environmental regulations, but as we looked at it and looked at what were the benefits to other parts of the other organizations and other parts of the community, how could we do a better job of really making this a win-win business proposition for everyone? And in fact, E3 program that's identified on the slide was piloted in Columbus, where really what we pulled together was the main utility, AEP, the city of Columbus, water and sewer, small manufacturers in the area, and really doing it as a community-based planning and implementation. You found out that both the city and AEP, if you saved energy, you're thinking, well, wait a minute, that's how I make my money. But no, what it really helps them with is their out-year planning for capacity. And so it really ended up being something that when you bring all of the players together that represent all different aspects in the community, that sustainability really becomes something that everybody can get into and support. And we found a lot of success there and have rolled similar programs out across the country. I mentioned the buying request. One of the things that certainly in DC, we see it in some of the states now, is the let's make it here. The new Secretary of Commerce talks about let's make it in the U.S. and sell it everywhere. And so we've kind of adopted that and developed this logo to kind of support this. And what we found in working with Department of Energy initially, there are some Buy American requirements that are in the federal language for their appropriations. We've been able to for DOE, I think we've had about 100 cases where we've gone out and been able to find American suppliers for something that the contractor said there was no such thing, and be able to connect them in there. Right now, we've got a real strong relationship we're developing with the Department of Transportation as they start to implement many of their rail initiatives across the country. We were in Sacramento last week for a suppliers forum. My staff were in Chicago yesterday to connect manufacturers in the U.S. that don't supply to the rail industry, because most of that really is somewhere else in the world, Europe, Canada, Asia, to reestablish a manufacturing industry that can support the rail industry. I'll end with one slide, which is a screenshot of our website. There's a lot more information behind here. Quite honestly, connecting with your local MEP center and the resources that they have really is the key to making this work. But if you're looking for some more general information, certainly we try to get everything we can up on our website and link to this, including links to the National Innovation Marketplace and some of the other services that I had there. So with that, I'll end.